All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Today, I don't know what day I'm posting this. I'm gonna talk a little more about dating apps. It's kind of a freestyle. We'll keep it a little short. But yeah, how are you guys? How was your weekend? How was the rain? Or the storm, or the flooding? I don't know. Like, we've definitely had a lot of weather news. But I hope everybody's okay. I myself have been resting, kind of comparing what rest feels like to kind of the kind of automatic state of mind that I kind of get into. Like, it's weird, guys. Like, it's really weird. Like, I'm getting work done and stuff too, but I'm not forcing it. So I'm trying to, it sounds like it should be so easy, right? I'm trying to recognize my stress levels and calm levels and trying to basically like notice it and just see when I need to chill. But I noticed that like almost everything, like, it's so hard for me to just chill. And I'm a relatively chill person. But, I find myself, I get up and I'm like, yeah, today I'm not going to do chores. I'm just going to rest. By this point, the weekend will have been gone. The MLK holiday will be gone. Probably once I post this, but it's like, man, I'm trying to give myself weekends and holidays, and I find myself like, I'm kind of like exhausted still. And I'm like, okay. But now I gotta do this like financial stuff over here, and then, I ended up today working on this online project from like 2 p.m. or so, or probably around 1:30 p.m. with a bunch of breaks, like, breaks during the day today. Basically, taking some time to myself, but mostly for meals, and then, like, outside of that, and like bathroom breaks and stuff, watched a little bit of YouTube here and there, but I feel like I freaking was busy all day. And I kind of noticed how I was feeling with like earlier today, especially with like texting or, interacting, and, somebody was asking me, what would I charge to set them up like an online store kind of thing. And I was like, I could build you a site, and, I was like, I'm not going to do it today though, cause it's still like technically MLK Day. Like, I'm taking the holiday. And then next thing I know, I find myself 2.5 hours later deep in like messaging this person, kind of like what it would take and like planning it out, like kind of the first steps they need to take. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I was just like, oh my god. And then I was like, cause when you feel like tense, like say if you're just like, that moment like right before you're just like where you need to put something down and you're like, dude, like I gotta step away from this phone, or I gotta step away from these emails, or I gotta step away from that, cause you're just like overly frustrated, or just kind of like you just need a break. And I found myself kind of in that mindset, and then doing the usual, like, let me push into that a little bit, and And now I'm like overwhelmed, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? It's like, put it down. Put it down, stop. I do like working on stuff though, but I was just like, dude, I wasn't even in the mood to start this process. And literally me confirming that we could talk about this later, I just started sending the rest of the message, and then I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, I'm taking a lunch, some time for lunch right now, so I'll send you the rest of the information later. And the next thing I know, I'm like messaging them the rest of the information right then, because I went to check, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, but no, today was good. It was a lot more productive than I had needed. I'm kind of debating if I'm just going to take tomorrow off then, because I didn't take today off at all. I pretty much was busy working from like 1 p.m. till probably 8:15 p.m. So that's a long time. So on top of that, I'm like, well, let's just finish this off with a podcast episode, because I'm already going. I don't know though. I don't really consider. The podcast for me, all of them, but this one in particular is just, it's a passion project, that's for sure. I'm kind of all over the place. I wouldn't expect anybody to like purchase these episodes or whatever. It's free. I'm not really selling anything. I'm just chilling on here. I'm just trying to chill. I kind of wish this podcast was like my other. I have this different one. And at a certain point, I used to do Instagram lives and just be like smoking out and like just chilling and smoking out online with people. Just like random strangers, and just rambling on and on and on. I'm like, okay, people tune into this. But then I got a little freaked out, and I thought like, oh shoot, like what if my boss finds this? And so I stopped. But I don't know, it wouldn't matter now. And I wasn't doing anything illegal. It's just, it's not very professional to be just like lighting up joints on the internet. But I mean, it's the life I've chosen. I'm looking for my notes. I know I wrote them. So I don't know if I'm doing this seriously. I don't know if I'm really seriously doing this. Like seriously, like taking this next topic seriously about dating apps. I don't know if I'm doing this seriously. The reason why I say this is because, I think there were couple episodes back, I talked about that show, Indian Matchmaker. And I was kind of like, okay, like what if I had to create a list of like interests, like personal interests that I have in people, what would that list look like? I don't know if I've ever really done that. Like, I've gone on apps and listed kind of like my preferences, but those are pretty limited. It's more like, it's almost like deal breakers. Like, if you don't want somebody who smokes cigarettes, or if you don't want somebody who already has kids, like stuff like that, where it's kind of like, they're almost like deal breakers. I wouldn't call them, what's the difference between a deal breaker and a preference? Like, I feel like a preference is something that is like, it's something you would like to have. You definitely would want that trait in a person or quality in a person, but you wouldn't necessarily take that trait or quality and make it you probably wouldn't take it and make it into something like like, I guess, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I'm thinking you wouldn't take the trait or quality and not, like, you would want it. You would definitely want it. But if a person didn't have it, you wouldn't, like, completely write them off, right? So, for example, if I met somebody who was a cigarette smoker, I mean, like, that does not appeal to me. You know, we could be friends, you know. I mean, if they're, like, maybe quitting cigarettes, but I don't think I could even. I used to have a friend that, you know, we would ride in their car, and they would smoke, like, in the car. And I actually am one of those people that kind of does like the smell of cigarette smoke, but I don't partake myself. Like, there might be rare occasions where I'll have something with, like a cigar or something, like not a whole one, but, you know, if somebody happens to have one. I mean, I love the smell and taste of cigars, but I don't think I've ever smoked a whole one. Like, I've taken some hits off of them. I don't know. I'm not, like, promoting everybody use substances if that's what you don't want to do. Like, but, and definitely you have to be of age to be doing certain things. But, yeah, it might be a deal breaker for me, in all honesty. I mean, I don't mind having friends that smoke cigarettes, but it's just, I don't know, it just grosses me out. Like, the breath grosses me out, and just everything smells like it. Like, it's not like I hate cigarette smoke, like, in passing. Like, if I'm outside with somebody and they're taking a smoke break and we're just, you know, maybe I'm having a coffee or whatever, or hydrating, having a bottle of water, and they're smoking a cigarette, and, you know, I'm having a coffee or some water, and we're just chatting, and we're outside in the fresh air. Well, it's not fresh anymore, but, you know, a scenario like that that's very temporary, where usually people don't even finish the whole cigarette, you know. You know, and I've never really worked in environments where people are heavy smokers. But yeah, I've never known someone who just kind of casually smokes cigarettes. More so with weed, it's like when you, I mean, I think people know this already, but I'm in California, so it's like life over here is a little bit different. We got a lot of things that a lot of places don't have, and it's not everybody I know is interested in partaking of those types of things, but pretty much everyone I know is pretty open-minded about it. Like, there are some people that are like, oh, like, you know, not interested, but I'd say most people, I'm like, I don't know, most of the people I hang out with are kind of understanding of it. But I don't know. Yeah, or like if somebody has kids or something. But yeah, if somebody's married and has kids, or was married and has kids, or wasn't even married. I mean, you don't have to be married to have kids, you know. Doesn't really make a difference. But I think most of the people I've dated that have had kids were married at one point, or at least had like another partner that was helping raise the kids. For me, that's still something I'm not full. Like, I'm open-minded to people with kids, but it's like I still really don't know about integrating. Like, I was even hesitant to have a roommate that has a kid, and I wasn't even involved with the kids, but well, the one kid. But it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't really want to be someone who's like involved in a kid's life and then just like leave, even if it is like the weird roommate, you know. Because it was weird for me, even with the roommate. Like, I was there for like almost 3 years, and maybe like 2.5 years. I don't know. And then at least after a year, the kid started like talking to me on his own. He would see me outside when I would like be coming from class or work or something, or when I would be leaving, he would say goodbye. And it was really sweet, and I was just like, oh no, like, he actually like knows my name and stuff. So he was a cool kid. But his little friends used to kind of, they'd all be outside playing football or whatever, and like they would see me, and then he would say hi, and then his little friends would say hi, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I got all these kids like always like in the apartment complex that kind of like knew my name and stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's like I don't know who any of them are, but I mean, I'm I like kids, they're fun. I'm one of those people that like, I like that kids like to play and have sports and stuff like that. So like usually that's my role, is like, let's go out in the backyard or the front yard and like kick a soccer ball around, or like make some weird game where we're like racing or whatever. Like I'm like that with kids, with any kids. Whenever they try to interact, I'm like, let's go interact then, but usually it's to that level. Like I'm not really a like sit down and play with dolls or play with my tablet kind of person. I'm more like, let's go outside and like be in nature and whatever. I mean, in LA there's not like that much nature. Usually it's like the backyard, if that. Let's go in the driveway. Let's go play in the driveway, pretty much. Go toss a ball around or something. But yeah, so I kind of made a list, and it's lengthy, man. But these are kind of the majority of my preferences. Like, and I think people who know me would probably say that these are the types of things that would make sense, because they're all things that I like. I didn't put anything in there about like stuff that I don't like. So these are all the things that I do like, which is stuff that I can vibe with. So somebody who's calm spirited, like they don't have to be like overly mellow or like super quiet and whispery, but just generally calm. Not somebody who's like super anxious and super hyped up, and like just that to me is like, I don't know, I'm really sensitive to that, and it really kind of just drains my energy. It's just like people who just like worry about everything, like things that are just not even important. Like you're leaving the house and then they're worried that like, maybe something in the backyard is gonna, I don't know, it could be anything. Like random stuff, like, oh, maybe it's too windy and something's gonna happen to the backyard while we're out getting groceries. It's like, goodness. It's like, will you just relax? Or just like worried about things that don't seem practical to worry about. Like what something that annoys me is when I'm in a house with somebody or people who are kind of confused or jumpy. Like that's kind of weird to me whenever somebody's like not aware of their surroundings, because I'm a little hyper vigilant about my surroundings, I would say, especially when I'm at home. So it's kind of weird to me when people are like, oh, I didn't know you were in the room, or like they kind of jump, like, oh, you scared me. Like it's one thing when it's like once in a while, but it's like when it's all the time, it's like, where are you? Like where's your mind? I like people that are a little more like aware. That's kind of what I mean by like calm, just someone who kind of like recognizes the situation that's going on and not like maybe overly worried about things. Because it's like, I can't be trying to like, take that on all the time. I like someone who can be introverted and extroverted. Like I don't need to be talking all day when I'm in a house. I'm thinking like if we're talking like serious and I'm living with a person or around them a lot at one of our places, like definitely having an introverted side, extroverted too, like someone who doesn't just only want to stay home and like never leave and never go out. Like I like to go out at least once a week, usually more, but at least once a week, usually. But can be both, you know, like they kind of switch back and forth between both. For me, one thing when I'm like indoors, like in the house with someone, you know, yeah, there's going to be catching up and stuff, but after a while, it's like, it can be kind of hard for me when somebody's just constantly talking. Like, they can't be in a silent room with you and not talk the whole entire time. You know, like, I might be reading or just like, that's something I like to do. I don't mind just sitting on the couch and like reading, like, or listening to something just quietly. But, you know, in my house, you know, it's just like, I don't really like it when somebody has to talk to me every time they see me. It's like sometimes I'm doing other stuff. So it's kind of, you know, I kind of like it when people can kind of read the situation where it's like, oh, you're reading a book, you know, like maybe now is not the time to tell you about all the errands that I'm about to run and tell you about all the other stuff. It's like, dude, I'm in the middle of doing something else. Someone who's patient. I like patient people. Mostly that comes from, you know, just someone who wants to understand things that maybe they don't fully understand. Someone who wants to take the time to understand it, versus just getting impatient about things all the time just because it's not going right or whatever. Like, I like it when people kind of can, at least some of the time, like try to understand it and not just always impatient. I like ambitious people, hardworking people, people who hold jobs. This might be a strange one, but someone who has at least one childlike interest. Like, I don't know if you consider anime like a childlike interest, but to some extent it kind of is. Or like, you know, some people like crafts that are kind of like Build-A-Bear or like coloring or like events that they might like to go to, like Comic-Con type. Like, it's not childish, but it's like, in a way, it kind of like feeds your inner child, like stuff like that, you know. That's kind of like, I think that's healthy. Like, it's not a deal breaker, but it's like, you know, someone who maybe has something that they were always interested in as a kid, but then as an adult, they can kind of, you know, maybe they have the means to be able to kind of do that more or something. Even something on that level where it's like, oh, when I was a kid, I always wanted to do this, but then maybe we didn't have the money, and then as an adult, now they do whatever it is, like pottery class or learn Spanish or whatever. I don't know. Someone who's frugal with finances, lives within their means, values paying debts and avoiding debts and budgets, saves for future goals and for basically saves for their future and saves for like certain goals. So like if they want to take a trip, for example, like they're very like aware of where their money's going and how to like plan out how to pay for stuff responsibly. Because if it's a 2-income household, we are not solely living off of my income. That's not how that's gonna go. I don't want to be the one who's so overly responsible. I'd like if someone made maybe a similar amount of money to me. That's not like a must, but I think I've only really dated one person that made significantly more than I did. And guys, I don't make that much money. I haven't been making that much money for quite a few years. And so, yeah, if somebody's making that much less than I am, that's a little bit worrisome. Especially, it's just worrisome because we live in such an expensive area. And yeah, with all the money stuff though, I mean, I'm not really too set on like the income. Like, minimum wage is like maybe a little too low. But if somebody was making about 18 an hour, like even like a McDonald's wage, I mean, like, because in my area, McDonald's pays $18 an hour starting, and a person can still work themselves up from jobs like that, like McDonald's, In-N-Out. They could still work their way up the chain, and have benefits and retirement plans and stuff. Like some of those places, like fast food spots or whatever, I know they have the reputation that's not necessarily like a good reputation, but I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind dating somebody who works at McDonald's that makes that 18 an hour and, works full time or whatever and gets the benefits. Like, to me, that would be perfectly respectable. I feel like anything maybe less than that would be a little hard for me. Because I know what that amount of money looks like in this city, and that's not gonna help. It would create more stress than not, and it would be hard to do a lot of stuff, really. As far as like the saving aspect of things, that could make things a little harder, but it depends because everybody's expenses are kind of different. But I would kind of prefer someone who at the least makes a consistent livable wage, where they can afford all of their expenses and still be able to save. To me, that sounds good enough. And like in a healthy way too, because like you can afford everything eating Top Ramen, but it's like you can't really, that's not really healthy. Or you can afford everything living off credit cards, but that's not really financially healthy either. So things like that, where it's like it would need to be in a healthy way. I believe other people's health, everybody's health affects everybody else. So if there's someone in the household or in the relationship that isn't kind of like caring for their health, like getting proper exercise or spending, properly or eating properly, so if people in the house take turns cooking and there's somebody who just doesn't make healthy food, or if there's someone in the house that's not caring for their mental health and they're either, sad all the time or, mad all the time. Like, of course, everybody has emotions. There's not a problem with that. But if it's like emotions that are constantly getting in everybody else's way, then, that can be a bit of an issue, if not a very big issue. I like people who are artistic or musical. They don't have to be skilled at it, just have an interest in something artistic or musical, some kind of craft that they enjoy, hobby, something like that. It doesn't have to be art or music in particular, but even if it's like woodworking or like exercising, going to the gym, whatever. Someone who's socially outgoing, I guess that kind of goes with the extroverted side. But not really someone who, when they meet your friends or whatever, they literally just sit there and just like don't really interact. Like maybe if they're just feeling everybody out for the first day or whatever, that's fine. But it's like, I feel like after you've met people like once or twice, I think that's adequate time to kind of be able to kind of at least be engaging, you know. Someone who wants good relationships with family and friends. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to be skilled with it, or that they have family or friends that aren't like toxic people. I mean, of course, that's a preference to date somebody that doesn't have toxic people in their life, because then you wouldn't have to either hear about it or you wouldn't have to deal with them, because they might be around you too if they're around them and you're around them. Or just like the way that they make the person feel. I mean, you can't just be like, oh, we're never going to talk about this again. Like that. I don't know. I guess people can say that, but I don't think, yeah. I think it would be weird to be like, yeah, we can never talk about your annoying, like brother-in-law or whatever. Like, just don't talk about him anymore. Somebody who's a foodie. So I like trying different types of meals, different types of cuisines. I prefer non-TV watchers. I mean, that's a weird thing. But to me, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think this is maybe a controversial topic. Now, I don't mean like YouTube apps and like Netflix and stuff like that. I can stomach like sports. That's about the extent of my TV that I can watch. I mean, the reason why for me I don't like TV is because of advertising. I can't even tell you how healthy it is for me to not be around newsreels, to not be around advertisements of things that I don't even know exist. I don't know that most of the stuff out there even exists. I see enough ads for things as it is, but I don't really know that, like, all the brand new stuff, I mean, living in LA, it's like impossible to avoid. Like, there's billboards everywhere. It's like, in case you didn't see it anywhere else, there's billboards that when you're driving, around, there's advertising on the freeways, and even like near the freeways. So it's kind of hard to avoid being advertised to. But it's definitely... This isn't going to be a short episode, by the way. I thought it was going to. But I'm more than halfway through this list. I prefer non-TV watchers. Just because I don't like TV. It's like, I'd rather sit in a room with a person and not watch TV. I think TV is a lot of filler. I think it's a big distraction. It's not productive. I definitely have a problem with the advertising. I don't know. I don't think it adds benefit to life. That's my opinion. I know that people most people, I would say, love television. I would prefer someone who likes to read books or listen to podcasts or even make podcasts or make videos or, I do like social media content and I like movies, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I used to watch a movie a day, and that used to be my, consumption. Is one movie every day near dinner time. I would watch, usually off Netflix, I would watch one movie every single day. And that was it. I didn't watch anything before, I didn't watch anything after. I might watch some YouTube clips in the morning if I was up early and had nothing else to do. But other than that, I wasn't really watching anything else all day. I was rarely even home during those times anyways. And that was about the max for me. Like, I can't come straight home, turn on the TV before I even put my stuff down, jump in the shower or whatever, start getting on with the last couple chores of the day, and then sit in front of TV and feel relaxed. Like, it stresses me out. TV stresses me out. It's too much information that I don't need. I can go on and on and on about this. I hate it. I hate TV. I was raised in a house where it's like people come in the house and just turn on the TV, and it's like people liking background noise and all that. I do not like that. I do not like background noise. I don't like to be distracted from everything. I don't like to be, I like to be in my head, I like to know how I feel. If I'm in a crappy mood, I like to know that I'm in a crappy mood and sit and think about my crappy mood. I mean, yeah, I'll get a distraction from it. I'll do something else. I'm not going to sit there like all night and just brood. But I mean, I'm also not going to sit in front of the TV until I'm half falling asleep. And then that's the last thing I do before I fall asleep. It's like, I like to use my own brain on a very regular basis. I don't like that I can't hear myself think when the TV's on. It's just, and it's too segmented. Like, the commercial breaks just ruin the flow of everything. Like, I was focusing and now I'm not, and now I'm focusing and now I'm like focusing on like 6 other things, and now let's go back and focus on this one thing. Like, that is not good for your brain, I don't think. Like, I think, television as well as, apps like Instagram, TikTok, those kind of things, it's fine to use them. It's fine to watch all that kind of stuff, but I think it's easy to get sucked in. They all have an aspect of dopamine release. I think they all lead to a form of anxiety and depression. I'm not with it. And the average person watches a lot of stuff. And I don't think that's a good quality to I mean, once in a while, maybe if it's a rainy day or you're sick, or like maybe once a month or so, you can just lay around and like binge. Like, in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. Or maybe one weekend out of the month max, just like literally laying there and doing nothing but like eating and like bathroom breaks and just like binge watching Netflix or whatever for like a day or two out of the month. But it's like, if that's every single night and every single weekend and every single morning, it's like, and then you're working in between that, it's like your brain is never relaxing. I don't think that's smart. I don't know, whatever. I know people who like doing that, they love to do that kind of thing. For me, I'd rather just smoke a bowl and just sit there and chill and, brainstorm and reflect. And I'd rather do that for 3 hours a night than TV. So it's like, to each their own, I like people that are open-minded about psychedelics and cannabis and things like that. They don't necessarily need to be like consuming them, but someone just open-minded, any type of plant medicine related things, anything that's kind of got a holistic property to it. I mean, again, I'm not vegan. I'm not against them, but I'm not vegan. I'm not like the most holistic person. I've definitely gained quite a few pounds in the last couple years, but I know why. The majority of it is 3 things, I'd say, like decreased exercise, which mostly was because I was so tired because of the people I was living with. I just didn't exercise as often. And then just the stress levels from that as well. And then the basically because I didn't like being around the people I was living with, I was getting a lot of takeout food and or just like eating non-healthy food, whatever made it so I didn't have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen at all, either cleaning or prepping or cooking or whatever. Like even making a sandwich sometimes was like too much of a chore because I was like, I gotta do a little cleaning and chopping some stuff, and now somebody's in there talking to me, and it's just, I just didn't want any type of interaction. So I would just go get food and just get away from them, or just go eat at a restaurant or something and leave them out of the picture. And at most I'd pop something in the oven or microwave and then just like leave and then come back and get it. But that wasn't like healthy eating. I wasn't like preparing fresh food all the time, or even buying pre-made fresh food all the time. So there's that. And I mean, these aren't in any particular order. Like, I have preferences for people who value spirituality and cultures and ritual practices, like maybe have some practices of their own at least some of the time. Like, not like they don't need to be like ultra like every day, doing like praying 5 times a day or something. Like, if that's what they want to do, cool, but I mean, that's not a necessity. And gender doesn't really matter. I have a preference towards androgynous people, kind of personality wise and looks wise, but that's not like a hard fast rule. I would just say that's what attracts me to somebody if I don't know them at all, and that's all I have to go by is what's passing me walking by. That's probably going to catch my attention more than anything else. Someone who's open-minded, like sexually open-minded. I mean, not necessarily like, let's find a way to do this while doing cartwheels kind of thing. Like, but someone who's open-minded enough that it's not just like years of the same thing. And some kind of comfort with it. Like, everybody, a lot of people kind of have like a bit of a discomfort. I think most of us were kind of raised like that. And most of society kind of just teaches us not to be too open-minded about it. But I prefer people that at least don't think everything's like filthy and terrible. And I don't know, that's just my own preference. I prefer people that are a little minimalist. It's hard to define minimalism, but I would say if a person has a storage, they're probably not a minimalist. And it doesn't have to be like the trendy kind of like, you have zero furniture kind of thing and like one cup. Like, I have a cup that I use as a bowl and a spoon, and I use the edge of the cup as a knife kind of thing. Like, it doesn't have to be like that extreme to a point where you're like all right, like maybe you should buy a fork and a knife. Like, we can stay practical. Like, they don't have to live out of a backpack or anything. But clutter, I can't do clutter. I really just can't. If the amount of stuff doesn't fit in a closet or in the storage within the housing, that is too much stuff. Like, to me, the amount of belongings, like, I don't know, like, I feel like I like my brain to be empty, like, not stupid, but I like my brain to feel like empty and kind of free. And I feel like things like television or things like just having too much stuff and like having like too many things to worry about, like debt and finance problems and like looking for work all the time and stuff like that. I feel like, and like not enough structure in the day. I feel like things like that are just like enough clutter to be stressful every day, all the time. and it's not necessary. Like, I feel like that's why I mentioned those major things, and also like the introversion kind of aspect too. Like, I don't want to be like fully like, you know, in somebody's like every thought, you know, all the time. Like, whenever I walk out of my room, it's like, oh, now I gotta listen to this, you know. I don't want to feel that way. I felt that way around many people before that I've lived with. And I think that's kind of one interesting thing about having housemates in the past, roommates, that are non-family and family members that I've lived with, because I've lived with so many types of people. I mean, definitely only the annoying ones stick out the most, but I've lived with so many, not so many people, but at least a few years, 2 to 3 years of the same group or set of people and at a time, so you get to know them okay enough that, you know, I kind of learn from that, like, definitely stuff that I can live with, that I'm like, this is fine, even though it's like whatever, and stuff that I can't live with. Like, for example, I had a roommate that, you know, I've talked about this, I'm kind of an early riser, but I can kind of, you know, if I'm working at 9 o'clock in the morning, I can probably maybe stomach some noise till 12:30, you know. So I used to have a housemate that would come home at like 10:30 p.m. And would start watching a movie, and would watch just one movie every night. And it was never really like the long 3-hour ones. It was always a movie that would end within like 2 or so hours, maybe give or take, you know. But it was just like classic size movie, and, you know, they would watch it after work. And yeah, it was a little late, but also it's like, you know, our walls were paper thin. So yes, I could hear it. I could drown it out too, but I could hear it. But it's like they weren't doing anything like wrong. Even though it was like late, I knew that this person, you know, I mean, I was up early. They weren't waking up till like 10:30, and I was starting work at 8 in the morning, talking on the phone to clients and stuff. So it's like we're having meetings and things while they were still not even technically up. So we kind of had the same schedule. He was up when I was up, and you know, I was asleep when he was asleep. So it was kind of like we had the same schedule, even though we were about like 2 hours shifted, about 2 hours off or so. As far as his wake schedule and my sleep schedule, but I wouldn't call that, you know, something that I even, you know, I didn't even address it, because I was like, yeah, I'm sleeping enough. It's not really a big deal. And, you know, that's all he did. Like, it wasn't like he was trying to be obnoxious. He was just literally unwinding after work. And so it's like, and that's all that happened. Like, he was never up late, like, doing any kind of, like, guitar riffs or anything. Like, he was just chilling, like, sleeping, whatever. And yeah. So things like that. Like, I do like a quiet household, but, you know, if it's something like that where it's like, yeah, we have opposite schedules or whatever, and you just want to unwind a little bit, like, I can compromise, you know. I'm not gonna, you know, be a jerk about stuff like that, but, you know, that's something that, like, if I felt like they don't, like, it's like, why are you playing music at like midnight, you know what I mean? But if it's like, yeah, that makes sense, this guy's been working from like 10:30 to like 10:30, or from like 12:30 to like 10:30, or something along those lines. I don't know, because he used to leave from work around 1:30. So I maybe worked from 2. I think maybe worked from 2 to 10. I don't remember. But yeah, it's like, it kind of made sense to me. I was like, okay, like, he's not like trying to be disrespectful. He's literally just unwinding. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just working at 8 in the morning. So stuff like that, where it's like there's a good understanding, even if there is like somewhere that needs to be compromised. I've lived with people where it's like there's those types of situations. Um, um, like like even people who like do laundry at night when the laundry's not like loud, or like just because of their schedule, or like, someone cooking or washing dishes, like, like if it's because of their schedule, I'm not going to be like, oh God, like you're annoying. But, if they're respectful and trying to be quiet, that's different than, someone who's totally not that way. And yeah, height doesn't matter. I prefer people who aren't obese or malnourished, and someone who enjoys movement and sports, or the movement of sports, or just movement in general. Even if they don't like sports, maybe they like something, that involves some kind of movement. But I don't know. I think obese or malnourished to me is scary more than anything. Like, I would worry too much about a person's health. I've gone out with people whose health was not that good, and we weren't even like too deep into things, and it impacted my life. They weren't in and out of the hospital, I wouldn't say, but they would often get sick, to a point where like I didn't even hear from them for 2 days sometimes. And it's like, are you okay? Like it's okay to like not hear from somebody for 2 days, but I just mean like when you're supposed to hear from them, like, oh, we had plans, and you just kind of disappeared because you were ill, and and then when they tell you about the severity, when they were like informing me of the severity of why they couldn't answer, I was like, man, that's a lot, and I mean, I was even younger at that time. I was probably in like my early 30s or something. Like, I was a lot younger, so I'm like, man, and they were younger than me. They were like in their late 20s, I think. So just those kind of dynamics. Like, I'm not into fat shaming. I don't find large-sized people to be unattractive necessarily, and I don't find, really thin people to be unattractive. It's not really an attractive thing. It's not an attraction thing for me. It's more so a worry thing. Like, it would probably worry me too much. Severe health problems are like something that really worries me. I mean, everybody has something, I think, for the most part. I think for the most part, most people have something, but, nothing, I don't think I could deal with something that's like life-threatening all the time, like you could have an issue at any moment, and, that to me is stressful. So I don't know if I could do that. And so, yeah, I don't know. Because the reason too is because I already tried it once, and I'm like, that didn't really work out so smoothly. That was kind of one of the main things to me that, once things started going a little, once you're past just like, oh, we're happy, and like, once there's stuff that's like, okay, like maybe we need to address a couple things here and there, like it got to a point where I was like, I don't really want to address these things. I kind of just want to end this situation, because that on top, like when it was just the health stuff, it was like that was already a lot, but then add a couple other issues on top of that, and I was like, I already can't deal with this, I just didn't have the maybe like emotional capacity to really deal with it too much, and especially because the job I had was already so draining. It's like, well, I can't be there for somebody else who's like struggling with their health to the point that they can't even like barely communicate, I can't, do that, and it was like a couple times a week that things were going wrong, like that things were kind of happening on the health end, like once or twice a week where I was like, okay, that's kind of like a lot. But then you add a couple things where it's like some other issues, and then, yeah, not even major issues, but like stuff that's kind of like minor annoyances of traits of somebody. Like, say they stay over at your place and they, are shaving and shave all over your bathroom and don't clean it up. Not that didn't happen to me, but something equivalent, something like that, where you're just like, oh, this is disgusting. Like, can you please maybe not do that? Like something that you have to like address, stuff like that. So it's like when you add a few things that need to be addressed, as well as the health concerns, then it was like, that was too much for me. But I don't know, sometimes I think, some things I'll probably circle back around, because I thought the same way about like someone with kids before, where I was like, oh, they have kids, and then that was like an issue, and then I was like, this isn't that big of an issue, actually. Like, now when I think of it, it's fine. And I might think that way about like malnourished or like obese size of people as well later on, like, because I'm assuming as I get older, that's going to be more of issues, like the health issue things are likely going to start getting more and more prevalent in people that I meet if I'm still single. So yeah, if it does get to be at that point, then I'm not really too sure kind of what approach I would take to that. Because mind you, I'm not like in the best ultimate health of my life, like I'm a little bit healthier this winter than I was last winter. I know that for sure. But I've only really been about 6-7 months into really making some more significant types of healthy choices. Just mainly because I haven't really had an opportunity to, diet is everything. And if you're not able to really eat healthy, or comfortable, I wasn't comfortable eating healthy. Because the amount of other things I'd have to deal with just to get the healthy food. Like, I wasn't eating McDonald's every day, but I would get pho. I would get, I ate Thai food, curries, but it was like restaurant food. And so sometimes it wasn't just that I was eating the meal, but anyone who knows American meals, usually when you buy takeout, it's 2 meals in one. And so sometimes, I would eat the whole meal for dinner, and then I would do that more often than not sometimes. And then, so I was eating like pretty heavy dinners on top of, like, even if it was relatively okay food, it was like very high calorie. And then, like, with exercising less too, because I was so tired from the things with the people waking me up all the time, or the one person, basically. We all know who that is. And so, yeah, like, it was just basically part of the lifestyle of the choices I was making to live there. I was like, I'm just gonna stay because it's so cheap. But it was so crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, never again, guys, never again. But yeah, like, and again, like, I'm not perfect by any means. You can even tell by listening to the things I'm saying. It's like there's not that much that I can really tolerate. I kind of need a calm environment just because, I get really, I don't like feeling like ramped up. I don't like that feeling that caffeine gives you when you're ramped up. I don't really like being hyped up at all. I like to just stay mellow. It's comfortable for me. So I like it when other people around me, if they're going to be around me all the time or most of the day and night, I prefer that. I need that calmness in my life. I can't come home to like someone who is just in their mind just has too much chaos going on. Like, I've tried it. I can't do it. I just can't. Like, I already know I can't do it. It affects me too much negatively. But I'm a people lover. I don't have any problem just liking the majority of people I meet. So, there's that, but that's my list. I'm not going over an hour on this one because I already said it was going to be short and now it's long. So, thanks for listening to all this.